any signs of calming down here towards the end of the regular season.
Certainly an extremely important game between these two teams, though, so we'll see what happens here in Champ Select. Arstar banned by OpTic, who are on the blue side for this game, and TSM on the red side will kick things off with an Aatrox ban.
Yep, Aatrox pretty standard on that side, even at 8-15, but now the Rakan actually kind of swapping sides here, because you could first pick a Rakan, but remember, PoE busted out the Akali last week. Is that something they want to first pick again here with another week of practice behind it? Because I wasn't too excited by it the first time we saw the Akali, because it had come out pretty quickly once people had realized it was good. But now, with an extra week of practice, more solo queue under your belt, I want to see that. But oh, they actually banned it themselves, saying they don't want to first pick it anymore. I feel like there's counters that have emerged.
Funny that you mention it, because it has been something that in Academy I've been casting that this week as well. Have seen it pop up quite a lot in series there. So certainly you think of a player like either of these mid laners, really, they would be willing to play a new champion and an assassin, which they are both pretty proficient on. But like you said, it was banned away along with the Rakan, and now Kindred, another jungle ban for TSM with one more to go. Maybe Nocturne, yep, out
Nocturne,
of there.
Zoe jumps to mind as something that you could pick here, but if the Fizz has emerged as a counter to it, you may stave away from it and just say, all right, the Fizz with the mini little guppy shark having AP buffs and stuff like that, let's not lock in something that's susceptible to it.
And actually, we're going to calm things down. I think both these mid laners with pretty deep pockets as far as the champ pool goes, so no need to rush just yet. Is first pick Varus, therefore Arrow. Certainly a champion he knows his way very well around.
Yeah, champion that he actually had made it kind of a name for himself on back in the day.
Varus and Ashe, right?
Yeah, and a little bit of Jhin too, but remember, I've actually seen Varus be flex picked recently to even something like mid lane.
If there's going to be anyone, it's going to be powerOfEvil.
Yeah, it'd be powerOfEvil. He's busted out those kind of awkward builds on even meta champions, but we'll see if it ends up being a champion that he could run in the mid lane here. Kind of a classic throwback for him, the AP Kog'Maw, the attack speed Orianna, on-hit Orianna, I guess is what I would call it. The TSM are just kind of drafting their jungle, and would this be, I like the Ashe. The Ashe has been, Ashe is always a champion that people don't always jump on top of it and go, oh, this is the best champion, but right now, I feel like what she does for the team is amazing, and back to comfort. That is surprising to me.
It is. Maybe one too many coaches on stage there, but Ezreal is the pick there. Seems like a lot of talk about that pick. They do want to lock in a marksman for Zven, so they will take, I think, his most played champion, certainly of last spring, but maybe this summer as well. He has so many games on this champion.
It is now. It's tied for it with Varus. Varus was off the table, so if he's just going down his tier list, then they can predict that one. And yeah, the Zilean locked in for power. Everybody was playing this over the week.
I mean, Big also has played it in support for OpTic as well.
That's true. That's true.
OpTic have some flexibility that not very many teams have when taking a champion like Zilean.
I actually really liked his Zilean support because it was pretty much everything. If you wanted a guide on Zilean support, you go watch that game because he did everything that you should be doing as the Zilean and pretty much not overplaying the situations either. I say this time and time again, Zilean is one of the most frustrating champions to play against when it's in the hands of somebody who is actually good at that champion. It takes a while. You have to kind of be like a semi-Zilean main, and that's why people don't jump on it immediately. And people like Jensen remind everybody, oh, it can be meta, and then they have to put the time in on it to bring it back in.
Yep, Bjergsen often as well has a very good win rate on the champion in his career, but it is Camille here instead for Dhokla, going to take his comfort pick back into top lane, and TSM one more pick here in phase 1. Clock's running down, they will take Tahm Kench here for mithy.
All right, the Tahm Kench. So they basically just have, I would say, pretty neutral picks here. And a lot of that is because if you pick a mid laner here or a top laner, you really don't know what you're going against. We've seen Camille go into the jungle. We've seen the Varus actually be flex picked to mid in, I don't remember the match exactly, but it was very recent. And then we also have seen the Zilean go support here for OpTic. So OpTic is very ambiguous in exactly where these champions are going to go, and TSM is very set and standard here, but they just went with a very strong core.
Also, now ban starting in phase 2, and Fizz is the first ban actually here from TSM.
Kind of indicative of the fact that they may pick a Zoe here if they get rid of a lot of the counters and say, we don't know what's going mid right now. It could be Varus and Zilean bottom, and you're just waiting to counter pick and kind of throw Bjergsen for a loop.
LeBlanc also banned by OpTic, so respecting some of Bjergsen's potential champions here as well. Hauntzer also knows his matchup, so if they want to sculpt something here with their second ban, they can, but I get the feeling they're going to go after another mid laner, and they do in fact ban Azir. This
is actually really interesting because it feels like OpTic already have TSM on the defensive in Champion Select, where these are potentially thrown away bans, because what if the Zilean is mid, but they have to cover that option here, and they can't go for supports where Braum is still up. There's a lot of champions that you could be playing here for Big But if he does flex the Zilean around, they want to make sure that Bjergsen, the player that they really want to play around here against PoE, is protected. And that's why we see 4 mid lane bans total here in the second phase.
Yep, Syndra the last ban there, so we'll see what TSM pick up. That is one of the nice things about Flex Picks, though, Zirene. You don't even have to decide until it's your turn to make your last few picks. So OpTic can really hold his flexibility throughout this draft. This TSM thinking about a Ryze here, perhaps, in mid lane.
That's so interesting because top lane, you would assume it's the Camille. So you would know what you're going up against there. And if they're saying it's potentially Camille jungle, they don't want to have Dhokla have a counter pick. But that's so interesting that they would throw that away and give it to Bjergsen very quickly instead of seeing the entire composition. Because OpTic, the 4-5, this is where we get to know what the surprise is from OpTic.
If there even is one. The surprise may be no surprise at all.
That is also something that I think is actually great to consider. Because the surprise is potentially that they aren't throwing it.
There's Viktor.
There it is.
All right, so Viktor for powerOfEvil. We'll see what the last pick is here. Expecting a jungler for Akaadian, but like you mentioned, there's still flexibility there with the Camille. So TSM will get one counter pick, but there's Gragas. Still a little bit of uncertainty, though.
Yeah, it could go top, could go in the jungle. We've seen a lot of Predator Gragas recently to have these early ganks work out. The Electrocute is something that isn't nerfed on 8.15, it's nerfed on 8.16, but a lot of people are still picking up the, picking up the Predator regardless.
Maybe GP here for Hauntzer. So, I mean, TSM are saving top lane for last here, so...
Yeah, I like the GP. The GP versus Camille matchup is GP favored early on, and then eventually the Camille is able to kind of win it. But it takes a lot of bravado from the Camille. You have to play up in the lane and use the hook shot and your passive appropriately. If you mess it up, it's way easier for the GP to win that lane. So I say Camille later outscales, but the burden of execution is on her in the early and mid parts of the game. But now TSM have a way to kind of affect Arrow and also affect powerOfEvil with this ultimate and play to other lanes.
Kind of an interesting spot to counterpick as well for TSM. It feels like very safe bot lane, just being self-sufficient. Pretty standard mid lane there for Bjergsen, maybe just wanting to farm it out against PoE, giving Hauntzer a lot of agency. And Dhokla on the other side, who is still the newest member of OpTic this split. It's been up and down. It has been tough being a new player in the LCS, but so far he's done well, especially on Camille.
He's done surprisingly well. They've been able to play around him, get his split push going. This game, more of the same here, playing to Dhokla potentially, but they've thrown a lot of wrenches here into this Champions League for OpTic because they're throwing everything on the table. This is the no-holds-bar matchup here between TSM and OpTic to see who potentially gets that playoff spot.
Coaches will shake hands like that. Zabatun's like, hey, get off the stage, other guys. I just need to shake hands with Song. But this is gonna be a fun one. TSM versus OpTic coming right up.
This is the Empire. This is the Empire.
All right, teams are going to move out, back and forth. It is one game to rule them all, potentially, Zirene. So close for those last few spots left in playoffs. I believe we're now with 3 spots only for the taking, and one of these two teams could be heartbroken, depending on the result of this game.
Yep, 10 wins gets you into playoffs. 9 almost gets you there. So
And
this one puts these two teams at 9, and it would definitely help OpTic out more because they have the tiebreaker head-to-head. But TSM need to kind of counter the potential of OpTic making it in off of that. It sounds really good chance if TSM win this one. So this is the kind of the one that I would say it hinges on.
Bad enough to miss finals for the first time as an org would be even worse to miss playoffs and worlds as a result for the first time ever as an organization. So big stakes in this match, and it's only a best of 1. Both teams have shown a lot of improvement throughout the summer. Arrow looks like he took some early damage, but he's just going to go back and fix that at the fountain.
Now let's talk about OpTic for a second. They were near the bottom spots for so long, and last split ended with no playoffs, no postseason. They could potentially get their first postseason here in the NALCS, and that's great from Dhokla. Getting that first one means he's going to hit level 2 off the first wave. I love that from Camille. It's kind of the double kick.
Yep, also gets 10 gold as well, so not too bad. Looks like red buff start here for Akaadian, and same stuff for Grig, so opposite side jungle here. Zven and mithy already to the wave.
And the other thing to consider as well about that ward not being there is you protect a scuttle. something that a lot of people don't consider is you should be warding for your jungler early in those pixel brushes to make sure you can see where the other jungler is, which scuttle he goes for, especially if it's a jungle matchup where that jungler beats your jungler in a 1v1 or your nearby lane doesn't have priority. So I like that they get rid of that. It's going to cover that a little bit more in terms of Fog of War, and it's going to make Grig be more careful about where he's going to play. And you can see Akaadian going to go straight for that, knowing that he's got cover here.
Yep, like I said, had that ward that Dhokla took down. There's also a ward there as well that OpTic have placed. So opposite side crab is in vision for TSM. Looks like Grig is stopping off by a camp just for now.
Yep, and Akaadian is going to get spotted from the second ward that they placed down, because that one comes from Hauntzer, but it means he won't have one in the near future. Whereas you can see both Akaadian and Dhokla still have their trinkets available.
Bjerg also warded late, so checking out that right-hand side, making sure Grig is well covered. As well, checking with the top side matchup. Certainly, based on how the draft fell out, a lot of potential impact early here, depending on who starts to win out.
Yeah, and this is one of those matchups where GP, you take the grasp just so you can Q harass, and since you're both melee champions, you just kind of hit the ones that are near you, and then you go for the Q harass. And Camille, it's kind of on her to walk up and trade with a W, trade with a Q. And Akaadian, I don't think he's looking at his screen. He would have seen the ward die there and know that he was spotted. He walks right through.
Yeah, almost had the timing perfect there, but instead going to reward and look to take the Krug camp away. Grig, though, has a bit of advanced info, so who's already started on that path, halfway through the camp or so.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job pressuring bottom side here. You see TSM already getting a decent amount in terms of push and advantage over Big and Arrow. And Zven, you know, this Ezreal is something that in Champion Select we talked about a little bit as being a surprising pick, but for Zven, it's one where it's comfort for him, and they're going to go give him a level 3. And Zilean passive.
Hooked up there by Dhokla. Passive procs. Hauntzer can't quite get too much traded back with the Q.
Yeah, you always have to go in when the passive shield is up. That's the thing with this matchup is the Camille. You hook shot in and then go for that whenever you have like the little red dot on the person, because when you don't do that and you aren't trading aggressively and your hook shot's on cooldown, you're going to be eating Qs. So you kind of have to trade to make the matchup even. If you are passive in it, you're just going to lose. So,
on the same note, certainly expecting not a whole lot of action here in the mid lane. Looks like Airy this time for powerOfEvil. Standard phase rush plus inspiration for both there on Bjergsen's side, who's already gone back for an early Dark Seal. But given that he also has the cookies coming through, actually, so does powerOfEvil. Expecting just a lot of farming back and forth. So again, look to mainly top lane and junglers to get any early action started.
It's funny though, because powerOfEvil, he's very commanding about what to do around his lane. He's very exact and precise about how to play around him. It's one of the things that I've talked to people who play with PoE. They say it's actually really easy because he tells you exactly what to do. He's the guy who's saying, all right, go in 2 seconds, right? Basically counting down on what he's going to do, what you can do. Basically plays your champion for you a bit.
Devour. Going to spin him out into a Zven Q, perhaps. Big. Going to speed himself up and try and walk away. Zven wants to grab it. Big forced to flash away there.
And Big, actually, interesting choice there. No Airy or anything like that. It's kind of the Guardian to protect. He's actually gone quite defensive here. He even went for the coin start because it's the one that actually statistically gets you there fastest to the 500, and it looks like they weren't going to be aggressive here. So it's kind of, I feel what they did in Champion Select was say, Akaadian's going to be playing to top and mid. He's not going to be playing too much to bottom side. And that's because they have a split pusher. Protect your split pusher early, get Dhokla online, give him wards, give him all of the attention, and they're kind of seeding bottom lane here with their builds and showing that they aren't going to be aggressive with the Varus and the Zilean.
Yeah, Zven's actually massively far ahead on what kind of looks on paper to be a pretty passive 2v2 matchup, but he's already 20 CS ahead, and it's not getting much better for Arrow either, who's actually forced to back away now.
And because he backs away and they put that pressure down, Grig's going to go on the Infernal Drake, use the pressure that's on the bottom side, and this is using the priority that your lanes have and having them play to you.
TP back from Arrow. Mithy doesn't miss too many CS, but
spotted on the ward by Akaadian.
Still, that Drake pressure is nice. Looks like Bjergsen going to play far right-hand side with his team on that Drake. Easy pick up there, 6 minutes in, and TSM get the first Drake, and it's a good one.
Yeah, the good ward setting that up. They've been able to track Akaadian. They know where he's going to go because they control the bottom half of the map. As a jungler, you get kind of corralled into going to one side of the map. Granted, it's the one he wants to go to, but he's not able to find avenues in, both in top and mid. He's been spotted and walking basically on all this vision that they have.
For top laners have also burnt their TPs for the kind of early 1200 gold item. Tiamat done for Dhokla, Sheen done for Hauntzer, although he does have to be careful of a potential gank. Akaadian did just finish off the Krug.
Oh, he just showed himself, and that's going to be kind of the key here. Akaadian's gonna go.
Hauntzer has a flash. He's going to have to burn it. Body slam connects. Hook shot incoming. Hauntzer is going to flash out of the way. Does survive, but has to burn the summoner.
Yeah, this does mean that Dhokla's gonna have to clear the wave out. Has the Tiamat to do so and give himself some priority. But Grig, interesting, he's not gonna go for his red buff or anything like that. He's just going immediately for topside control, which will pull Akaadian back to the top side to give Dhokla vision again. Because Dhokla wants to pressure in this matchup that he's slightly winning, and there's no flash on the GP. But it means that Akaadian's gonna have to abandon his bottom side, make them kind of suffer for a bit, or he's gonna have to go get his red and say, well, Dhokla, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can see Grig picked up his red, covers for the regank. Bjergsen not quite gonna get stunned up there by Gravity Field. With the tier completed, actually doing pretty okay in the matchup. Kiwi, though, also upgraded his Hex Core, so first early item power points are here.
Yep, and you can see Grig's actually going topside here, kind of babysitting Hauntzer, making sure that he's not going to get ganked, making sure that he can push up and clear the wave out. And Akaadian was just hanging out in the mid, and because nothing else has really happened here, he's just going to go cycle his jungle on the bottom side.
And it's not too surprising that TSM drafting pretty safe, all things considered. Happy to play a relatively slow game, but I feel like OpTic have played that style pretty well all season also. This is really the tipping point that I didn't expect to happen, though. OpTic being this far behind in the laning phase is a testament to, honestly, Zven and Mithy's strength as a duo, despite having very defensive champions.
Yeah, it's also the cover that they're getting. If you can track Akaadian, when you have a lane, this is kind of how it works in pro play versus solo queue. Solo queue, everybody will have almost no regard and forget that junglers exist. When you are in professional play and you can see the enemy jungler on the opposite side of the map, even if you have a losing matchup, you just push really hard and make them think your jungler's there and call that kind of, or make a bluff and throw it down. So that's kind of what TSM has been doing, is constantly pressuring, because they've been spotting Akaadian on the top side, and that's given them a CS advantage. It's given them opportunities to use abilities. So if you use some abilities, like if you double bomb, that's when the jungler comes out of nowhere if you don't have the appropriate vision. So OpTic playing really safe, but TSM playing aggressive, because they've been spotting Akaadian and tracking it.
Yeah, again, Grig does a nice job tracking Akaadian, does spot him with the Scry's Bloom. Will contest for this Crab Smite to Akaadian. He's going to pick up the Shrine, but Grig gets a control ward at least.
Gets the control ward, spot him out. Now they're both on the bottom side of the map, but this is where Akaadian has to cycle his top side still. And he has to kind of cover for Bjergsen, roam warping to the bot side. But diving, I would say diving a Zilean, it always feels bad, man. It's really hard to do. Double bombs for the stuns, he clears the minion wave out, and then he will also just revive somebody.
Yep. Still though, the pressure is holding up. 25 CS up now for Zven. He's closing in on 30 relatively quickly. Mithy going to try and clear out this ward. Looks like he's just going to disable it for the time being and just play forward and threaten, and then with the last few seconds of the sweeper left, make sure to complete it and clear it out. And again, Arrow and Big forced to play back under the turret. I mean, now the tower itself is starting to take damage.
Just a little bit of chip damage here and there, but with the Sheen, that's definitely going to hurt from Zven. He got some good backs off, right? He got his tier, plus he got his Sheen, and now his boots have come in too. So he's actually pretty far ahead of Arrow in terms of items and what he's got in his inventory. A lot of the times the Ezreals feel awful because they just have a tier versus a pickaxe or a Vamp Scepter, but here he was able to get the Sheen on top of this. So you're kind of going, Arrow got an early back off, or was forced back, remember the one that we saw? And Zven got to stay in lane, keep the pressure up, and then eventually back and get kind of all these big ticket items.
Looks like some of that top attention is kind of turned off, and thanks to Akaadian's early presence, Dhokla is ahead. About 10 CS, no cancels on either recall.
Yeah, he's just trying to clear the wave so that he threatens the turret, and the fact that it can stop people's backs if they decide not to. They can go, okay, we have to clear this mini wave. Because what he's doing is he's saying, you're going to lose 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CS to this turret because you had to back right there. So you just lost 2, he's going to lose 3.
Go get it. Eric's getting sped down there.
Yeah, he has no teleport for a bit, so it was a really good play there from Zven just to kind of put pressure on him. And those are the things that are harder to appreciate.
Texas, you know, relatively safe and free back as well. Goes and gets Manamune, so Zven continuing to hold a good position here versus Berserker Greaves and Cutlass.
Yeah,
there for Arrow.
A great way to look at it is Zven just kind of forced them to lose over 100 gold. A full minion wave there for Arrow to not pick up will make it so that he doesn't even hit these spikes at a reasonable time at all.
Gives Mithy some time to kind of walk out and get some vision up as well. You can see him clearing this control ward.
Zven's pretty self-sufficient right now. He doesn't really have to fear the damage that'll come out of Arrow. He does kind of have to fear if Big is there too, but at the same time, this Ezreal is very mobile, can jump around, and that allows Mithy to make plays with Thistle Voyage and kind of control vision because he's got his upgraded Sightstone item. He has the Eye of the Aspect. And has already gotten to that place where he can go down
Flash body slam. Oh, good flash from Bjergsen. Looks like Akaadian either tried to sneak an auto in or Merc came up trumps there for Bjerg. Does get out of that potential gank. Well, what's looking topside here is Dhokla is starting to eat some harass from the GP. But it makes sense. TSM feeling pretty safe and stable in the bot lane. Happy to transfer their power to the top side now and give Hauntzer a hands.
Just slowing down the Tahm Kench. That looks like it's pretty frustrating for Mithy, but we're still having a really good time here. And this is also a winning lane on the bot side, gives you that Dragon access. TSM has been one of the worst Dragon teams, first Drake teams, actually lowest percentage in the entire league. They got the first one, Infernal. They're about to get one that's also an Infernal on top of it as the second one here. And you're seeing OpTic, they're kind of abandoning take care of Dhokla strategy and saying we're just losing the map. We're losing mid, we're losing bottom. 40 CS up at 12 minutes, 13 minutes here for Zven. He's actually blasting this lane, and he's almost got that turret.
Yeah, looking to actually stay and get it here as well, while Grig tries to cover for the Drake. Zven dancing around. Web's going to get clear, but here comes Grig and Bjergsen going to try and...
Oh, he's stuck, he's stuck!
Pillar. And there's the stopwatch. Here comes mithy, though. He's just going to make sure Akaadian goes down. It's first blood over to Bjergsen. Make it the Drake and make it the bot turret. TSM collect a triple in the bot side.
Man, Gragas, you gotta suck it in. Squeeze right by. Akaadian gets caught out there because he doesn't have the flash from the previous play from Bjergsen. That's really well done there from Grig. And that's going to get them that second Infernal, like you said. Exactly what they need, exactly what TSM needs, because they have been lacking in early pressure in the second half of the split.
Make it two. Grig is able to get the last tip. Actually, mithy that grabs it. But again, Akaadian, he kind of has to face check here. And unfortunately, this is the price you pay.
Body slams
so good
to get out of the range of the E root from Bjergsen. Because otherwise he's going to eat the E root from him, and then he's going to get pillared and knocked back a little bit. So he blows it early to try and avoid that, but ends up right on the pillar.
Yep. TSM also committed both Abyssal Voyage and Gangplank ult to make sure that kill happened. So I think kind of no matter what happened, Akaadian was going to die.
Yeah. Also committed the stopwatch to it too, which I believe he bought that. I'm not 100% sure on. I'll go check, but I don't remember him starting with it. Oh, he did actually have it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, because he bought like a monocrystal and then he didn't want it. So I was like, oh, did he sell it for that and get that? But looks like he just used the rune.
Unfortunately, it's now broken, so of course can't do that again.
You actually get Zhonya's second a lot of the time now on the Gragas. The W has an AP ratio for how much reduced percentage damage you take, and with the lower cooldown and making it like a 1-point wonder, you don't really max it, so you rely on that AP ratio. So building AP actually makes Gragas tankier. Granted, not as tanky as before, but it means he gets to have early pressure. He can actually contribute to skirmishes with burst damage, and then he's also a little bit heftier than AP Gragas was before.
As we kind of check back in with the map, TSM have forced a swap now. Grig actually here to the top lane, which is the 2v2. Big not going to get slowed. He dances around the pillar, but actually going to eat that first chomp and be forced to speed himself up again. Safe for that burning a summoner, but it does seem like TSM are trying to make sure the map is bare of objectives. Going to try and fight for this Rift Tower, but Crab looking to go over to Akaadian. Should be able to take this one down without Grig's interference, as Bjergsen is dealing with minions in the mid lane. Maybe not, actually. Grig just walks in, takes down the control ward. Now going to move through and sweep out the rest of the vision. Again, I mean, we talked about the bot lane giving TSM all this power and all this priority. They're doing the same thing. They've just moved themselves to the top lane.
Yep, just swap it around. If you were slowly winning a matchup, you should just go ahead and put your winning matchup back in a lane that has a turret to knock down and get yourself that gold. And also kind of prevent the enemy from knocking down a turret in mismatched lanes. So OpTic are opting into matching it and slowly losing this one, and they're gonna have to find a way to kind of break the pattern that was established by the early game, because it hasn't been a high kill game. There's only one kill in these 16 minutes, but it's 2 Drakes to TSM and this large CS advantage in both the bottom, and the mid is actually more even now.
Yeah, I mean, Bjergsen just been farming. Hauntzer is behind in CS, but pretty close on gold.
Yeah,
GP. General Gangplank things.
Yeah, GP, no kleptomancy, but still. You also have to kind of consider how much HP he's getting from the grasp, which should factor into kind of how much gold the GP is worth in combat stats, but completes the Trinity Force, and Akaadian, there is Predator, and teleport immediately as a response.
Yep, Zven coming in. He's like, all right, walk back towards the objective. Doesn't waste too much time, but doesn't want to make sure that he's covering for his mid laner. TSM in general are pretty liberal with their cooldowns.
Yeah, right now, though, Hauntzer's on the bottom side. Dhokla back in base. just completed his Trinity Force himself, so he's in a good spot on the Camille. You really want those 2 items, and he kind of feels like a completely different champion. He doesn't have any boots, though, so he's going to be very slow in fights to actually catch up once he's used his hook shot.
Well, it's actually walking mid for now as well. I think TSM are trying to more fully contest for this Rift Herald. Going to move down. 2 sweepers here between Grig and mithy. Actually, blue buff contest also going to be a thing. Grig, though, maybe a little too far forward. But the Rift Herald back in to step forward just a touch. And mithy going to devour him out of the gravity field.
That was some cold ones on the rocks there. What happened? That was apparently too far away. Just in the terrain instead, and Grig did not get knocked into the team. It looked like mithy was potentially like going to eat him and prevent it, but didn't even get that opportunity. But here, hold on.
Rift Herald, wait, go over, I think.
Yeah, Grig got it.
All right. He's going to pick it up as well. GPL also going to continue the play. Big low, Akaadian low as well. Big no ulti, but somebody's dead. It's Akaadian that is going to fall to Zven.
Yeah, Akaadian, full-on commit there, sold out for it, went for the flash, tried to smite it, didn't get it away, so they don't even get the Rift Herald, and he ends up dying on top of it.
And PoE, he tried to use the ulti. He's got the perfect hex score. He's in a decent spot. He's been farming here versus Bjerg, but again, too much map pressure there from TSM, and Zven is so strong right now.
Yeah, it's actually been a bit of jungle difference this game, but I would say it's mostly off the lanes. If you have a losing lane bot and mid, it's hard to play off of it. Right here, though,
Just
goes in.
didn't walk backwards.
Yeah, he was stunned during that time. It's just a little bit of an overshot there, just barely too. And so with the ultimate down, it's much harder to teamfight on this Gragas that's squishier. Use the ultimate on mithy. Ultimate's gonna go to the side here. And then Akaadian goes for the body slam, doesn't quite get the smite off at the right time, gets it off a little bit early. And then that's the Zilean ultimate. Big is almost dead and has to run away. And then the flash from Akaadian to try to get away. Does get the flash from Zven, but Zven does get the kill on top of it.
Yeah, and again, Zven, Trinity Force done, Muramana transformed, and a Vampiric Scepter working in towards what I can only assume is a Blade of the Ruin King. So this is a very farmed Ezreal, not just accounting for his almost 50 CS lead in his own matchup, but yeah. Klepto's been picking up extra gold as well. That's more than 2K clear of Arrow.
Yeah, 2,200 up right there. And then you look at all the other matchups. It's basically, he's the one who has the most gold in the entire game. 1,000 more than Bjergsen at this point. Being pressured right now because mithy's not in the area, but that's a sweet spot for Ezreal. When you're ahead of the curve and you can ulti a minion wave and actually kill minions in it, not just chunks, but actually kill minions in it, that's the feels good.
And still holding 1v3. Akaadian roamed up as well. That's going to give TSM this Ocean Drake uncontested. As Zven still checking brushes, trying to find some people. Akaadian going to get spotted now by mithy. Mithy wants to face check the brush. They will lose a turret here, but TSM kind of knew this was coming. Mithy actually trying to chase them away. Arrow looking to finish off the top outer turret. Should be a couple hits away. Does manage to destroy it. TSM are happy to take that loss.
Yeah, they got the Ocean Drake. They kind of sacrificed the turret, but they had bought the opportunity to do that because they had already given up. Already gotten 2 turrets, sorry. And they are very close. If they keep this map control up and nothing goes wrong for TSM in the next few minutes, that's 3rd Infernal Drake potentially for them.
Got another Herald as well. Sorry, still has the first Herald and the only one there for Grig. So we'll see if he wants to use that to complete the outer ring and take down mid. Baron also up. Hello. Check Scuttle Crab first here though for TSM. And again, Zven is happy to move around, transfer his power throughout the rest of this map.
I mean, he does so much damage right now. A lot of the times you're like, Ezreal, he's got the little baby pokes. It's like, this Ezreal actually chunks people at this point in the game with Qs, with ulti.
Yep, Big actually taking a big chunk there from the True Shot Barrage. TSM stepping forward. Here's Akaadian with a big Predator flank. Now Zven's going to chase him down. He actually is going to get this kill if Akaadian doesn't leave, so he's forced to run away. Shelly also doing most of that turret's health, so just one more hit required there for TSM as Grig caught by the Chain of Corruption, but getting out of there. powerOfEvil sped up by the Zilean, trying to play up and aggressive. But Hauntzer ready with the ulti. Wave's going to push back in for TSM. Mid turret is pretty tough to defend at this point.
This feels like OpTic may have to go into damage control mode, try to slow down when they can ever get a Baron. They might have to keep seeding objectives to TSM and rely on Dhokla, the newest member of the squad, like you said, with the least experience out of everybody, to be the one to carry this game in a split push position, because it has been all silent on the southern front where they have those top laners now sitting down there.
I'm going to hang out, clear this wave. Looks like OpTic stayed around to fend off the potential counter push, but Bjergsen's actually splitting top. Hauntzer, of course, has been bot lane in his 1v1 for a while now. Grig going to take a visit down here just to maybe pressure Dhokla out of the way, but he hookshots over the wall. Oh, here comes mithy. Got any friends? Does have Zven with him. Dhokla just gets out of there.
Yep. So that's good. He's pulling pressure, pulling people towards him, gets ultimates, gets people to kind of abandon that side, and then you get to replace wards on the top side and control that minion wave. So the fact that people go for you as a top laner, as a split pusher, and you can avoid it, you just buy your team time to shove waves, kind of stop the game from getting more and more out of control. Yeah,
OpTic trying to do what they can, though. Looking for Baron now that, of course, there is no Drake up for a number of minutes.
Yeah, you basically get Baron control to either threaten doing a Baron, but also kind of force the enemy's hand and say, you guys have to group as 3 or 4, come over here, come into the Baron area, clear it all out, we have vision of it, just get control back and draw them there and force them to take more time to kind of go about the area. And that's TSM going to get all those outer turrets, and so they have a lot of map control at the moment.
Yeah, tough to contest for objectives when you only have one turret taken and it is in the top lane. Will help with some of that Baron area vision, but TSM have a really good stronghold to just sit in, force the waves out, and again, continue to play around these objectives. Zven also coming back with that third item finished.
Yeah, 3 items to 1 and a little bit of some halves. Like, the Zeal plus the pickaxe don't go into the same item.
That's true.
So he's got parts of 2 different items.
One and a fraction of some kind. Pick your favorite.
So it's a situation where, sure, you have 2 parts, they don't make a whole. It's like having 2 part-time jobs don't make a full-time job, right?
No.
That kind of thing. They don't go together.
Feels like hard work, though, and I think that is where Arrow is right now.
Oh, he's got to work really hard on this one. Down 70 CS at the moment. And remember, there's Infernals behind this Ezreal too, who has a decent amount of damage. The Trinity Force, he got 306 AD at 23 minutes. You jump over to Arrow's AD, Arrow is sitting at 200. He got 150% of the enemy AD's AD.
And that's, of course, without looking at the Ryze and the Gangplank, which are still pushing the side lanes here for TSM. Dhokla is a bright spot, certainly, for OpTic, and there's been a lot of OpTic split push games with Dhokla's Camille. powerOfEvil, though, taking matters into his own hands. They're going to try and take down Zven. powerOfEvil going to flash forward. The Q is not quite enough to kill him. And now powerOfEvil may be too far forward. Mithy is going to get stunned in the gravity field, but powerOfEvil with the Zilean is maybe going to live. He's going to be resurrected. The True Shot Barrage did grab him, but Hauntzer looking for a barrel combo, not quite enough to take down PoE. So TSM, they TP in, they try and get a counter kill.
Yeah, but they don't get Bjergsen, though. Bjergsen is actually just on the side lane, just getting that turret slowly but surely. And it looks like a pause comes out here. I mean, it's incredibly tense between these 2 teams. This is playoffs pretty much on the line here.
Looks like powerOfEvil talking about something with one of the referees. We'll get you an update as soon as we have one. But I think he, a little upset he didn't get that kill. I wonder if he's thinking that maybe something went unintentionally awry. We'll have to find out in a moment.
If something went intentionally awry, I would be like, what? But, yeah, something else to consider in that is Hauntzer potentially would have killed him, except the exhaust came out right before the barrel chain happened. So Big actually saved him pretty hardcore there.
Yeah, we actually have a replay coming up of that last fight, so we can take a look at it again at the moment just before this pause. We'll pull that up for you when we have it. Here we go.
All right. Get your bug eyes on what happened. All right. Hit some flashes. Okay. I don't know what I'm looking for.
That seems right to me. powerOfEvil is going to get clipped here, but thankfully the ulti.
Yeah. Watch this from Big. Watch Hauntzer set up the barrels. Big goes, no, 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 exhausts him. And that's what allows powerOfEvil to actually live.
Nice stuff there. And like you said, Bjergsen's still applying that pressure. As you can see, people are checking out, I'm sure, whatever powerOfEvil cam's happening.
I wonder if this ends up being something where it's an issue and it's like, you got to chrono break this. It's like, where do you chrono break it? The middle of the chase. Just like, yeah, Zven, we set the scene. You're running away for your life. You're about 1/3 HP. PoE is right behind you. What do you do? It's like, unpause.
Maybe. We'll find out in just a moment, but you can see that based on the pause graphic, TSM still with a very healthy lead. I mean, Zven is a good kill for them to get.
Exactly.
But given the general low kill score of this game, I mean, actually just look back, it's only 2-0 down there in the kills, but TSM's overall goal lead, just a lot of really solid farming, GP and Klepto, helping there for the Ezreal. And again, just taking those objectives. OpTic have only gotten a single tower as their objective of the game.
Yeah, that one turret, they haven't gotten the Rift Herald. That's been 4 neutral objectives taken for TSM, and those 3 outer turrets. So they're basically, if you want to count them all up, 7-1 in terms of objectives. And TSM have not been an objective-focused team. Grig has been pulled around over and over again in terms of which lane he's going to play to. They were lowest in pretty much Rift Herald percentages. They were really low in terms of first Drake. I think they were last in the league, but he's been able to kind of play to the bottom side when they have pressure, and when OpTic wants to play to top and just reverse the map, reverse the pressure, and it's been, so far, it's worked wonders for them. Low kill game also means less chance of a comeback from your enemies because there's no shutdown goal. There's nobody running around with 900 gold in their pocket because they have like 7 kills, right? So you kill Zven, he's got 1 kill. He doesn't even have a shutdown to his name. It's all this CS that he has accrued, and then those stats from the Drake and the gold from the turrets.
Yeah, as you can see, though, there's some lag investigations happening. powerOfEvil said after he flashed, he'd experienced some lag in the fight, so of course, we'll have people checking that out. To your point, though, I do like that. I think TSM have just kind of played a bit more simply.
Yeah, let's look for the lag. The moment he lags, because what he wants to do is he wants to Q auto right here, but he can't. I don't know if that would have helped him out a whole bunch, but if he lagged, he lagged.
True. Obviously something we'll take a look at.
Yeah, because you don't want to lag again on LAN. I mean, sometimes it does cause like loss of frames and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, we've had some stuff happen this summer, Zirene. Don't you worry.
We've had flies in keyboards, actual bugs on stage. Yeah. I still can't believe that one.
Had water spilled across keyboards of top laners all across the league.
That's true. Sippy cups need to be in order
Actually,
for players.
if you have a look, it seems like there's at least Akaadian, you can see one right there.
Wait, those the ones you
much safer.
Are those the ones you can't knock over?
Don't try it. I'm sure there's a way.
Do it. Somebody do it. Try it. I think it's the one that like gets back up if you knock it over. It's just like, oh. Maybe you can't knock it over. It has like a weight or something. I don't even know.
Where's Hauntzer's desk? Is that should act? He has a regular water bottle. Everyone panic.
Oh god. Yeah, that's not safe.
It's not at all. But I think again, like if you're right, and the TSM have not really been playing much around objectives this play. I think Grig has felt like pressure to play to such strong laners. Bjergsen is very commanding as a mid laner, both as far as his like communication goes, but also in his play. Hauntzer is often best on carry style champions, even though he can play tanks very proficiently. So I think just again playing more simply, stabilizing these lanes, picking very safe and standard stuff, and they're just playing the map more fully. It just feels like TSM have at least picked a game plan that's much more cohesive for the 5 of them, and so far it's working out to a pretty strong gold lead and a massive objective lead.
Yeah, the objective lead is the huge one here because when you're a jungler and you're getting pulled around to all these different lanes that kind of want your attention, you end up going almost nowhere, and it's like all 3 lanes want me. It's like I'm warding over here. They're like, come over here. So you don't actually get to play to one side of the map. But Grig actually was able to kind of do a little bit of everything this game because they were tracking Akaadian, and because of that, mid looks like everything was resolved, and Bjergsen's going to get that turret.
Yep. So that's now a first tier 2 turret taken by TSM. Hauntzer trying to steal a little red buff away here. He's got Grig behind him. Does go over to Dhokla. Pretty good recipient of the buff.
And Dhokla's actually, I wonder if this is a Sterak's next or if he's going for Tiamat into Titanic Hydra, because that's more indicative of a team fighting build. If you're going for full-on split push, you go for the Ravenous Hydra, just to go trade and then make sure, because he doesn't really have any sustain on the Gangplank besides the orange, that you can just out-sustain him and over time whittle him down and get him away from his turrets, force it back, and then get the objective. But if this is Titanic, I assume it would be Sterak's and he'll still go Ravenous, but if it is Titanic, you'll look out for more team fights from OpTic and Dhokla collapsing.
You can see TSM still holding a lot of strength around the map. Zven has a decent amount of gold to spend, and he's 3,000 gold ahead of Arrow.
Yeah, and Arrow is at 1,300 gold. I don't think he's that close to even getting the Rage Blade or getting a Rune
Hurricane,
I would say.
going there, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty close to a Hurricane, actually. I think you can almost buy it. But the Rage Blade is really what you want in this situation is the Varus.
Baron check here for TSM. They do spot Akaadian. I'm going to get it. Grumpy, they're trying to take the Infernal, so OpTic are like trying to force TSM back over, but they calmly take the Drake. They've got triple Infernal now in this comp, and TSM have more than enough time to go back over and get OpTic off that Baron. And to be fair, it was a pretty half-hearted attempt anyway.
Yeah, it was one where I was like, maybe we can just like tap it a little bit, throw down the idea.
Maybe they'll panic.
Yeah, and then it was a control ward over the wall from Mithy, so immediately it's just spotted out again. But now they have control, like you said. And I actually think with a Blade of the Ruined King, they can actually do this fairly quickly once they get rid of all the vision.
There is no super quickly anything for TSM. They'll play it nice and calmly.
You had to say it, Pastry.
Hey.
It's true, though.
If it's a style that is going to get them to playoffs, That's the style they should be playing.
Yeah.
TSM have looked a lot more controlled in some of their last few games. This one is no exception. And I mean, again, with only 2 kills in this game, TSM are up almost 7,000 gold. And that doesn't account for the 4 drakes they've taken, 3 of which are infernal to get those stats up even higher.
Yeah, it's 3,000 for Zven alone in terms of his matchups, winning that. And then, oh, caught, but QSS just purchased.
Goodbye there for Zven. Still only has his free boots, has not upgraded them yet, but doesn't seem to need them. As an attempt from OpTic is nice, but again, Zven just too far ahead of the curve. That early QSS, given that he went 3 offensive items first, just means that OpTic's kind of chances to do much, again, still lie in, I think, this man's hands. See if Dhokla can get the sideline pressure going, but pretty hard when you don't have that many turrets.
Oh, Arrow is going for BF sort into IE. So I guess this is the crit Varus. It's just very slow to get there. It's gonna be a while. If OpTic win this, it's gonna be off of a long.
It's funny to say that, given that we're almost 28 minutes into this game, but I think OpTic know that their mid-game chances pretty low at this point.
It's the long haul. You gotta wait for the Ezreal to fall off, for the Varus to scale up, and for the gold lead to matter less and less. But TSM, like you said, there's no such thing as doing something quickly for TSM here. They're usually pretty methodical, and I would say overly methodical sometimes, risk-averse as well. And so there's a lot of opportunities to make your own plays. Even things like getting the scuttle on the Baron side, and see, they don't want to go for it. They just think maybe they're here. But trying to counter the split push, Bjergsen is also off on this side.
It's a good lane to attack.
Yeah,
just waiting.
Bring both your teleports to the split pusher and keep him under wraps. And this will be a test for Dhokla, kind of, because if they're putting pressure on Dhokla, it's how well he can play around his team. It's how well he can actually ask for pressure, and how well they can react, too. They get the scuttle, but I think they trade the turret for it.
Yeah, Hauntzer actually just face tanking it. One more auto. Bjergsen does finish it off. And that's another tier 2 turret for TSM.
But what are you going to do, OpTic? Hauntzer and Bjergsen are both down here, and they haven't made any real moves on the top half of the map. Sure, they got the scuttle crab, they're warding it up, but now the other part of the squad from TSM, 3 basically pushing in 3 versus what they would assume would be 4 on the top side, and they just get control right back.
Yep, Scuttle's throne still there, but TSM take the rest of the wards out. Little timeout in relatively short order. TSM can continue playing with their globals. Dhokla trying to get a stun down. Here's Mithy instantly reacting as TSM going to try and turn the play around. So OpTic back off.
It's good to get the Banshee's Veil. It looked like what he wanted to do is you want to do the W a little sooner, so you can actually get the Banshee's Veil off and then hit them with the stun at the same time. So if you time it just right, you can remove the Banshee's Veil and get your stun.
Fortunately for Dhokla, no stun landing, and of course plenty of support. I mean, between GP, Ryze ult, and Tahm Kench ult, it's pretty tough for OpTic to do anything without TSM showing up.
Yeah, it's interesting because TSM have so many semi-globals or globals.
3 teleports.
3 teleports, 4 champions that have ways to affect side lanes, whether it's using an ultimate like the Ezreal or the GP, and then also having a mobility ultimate like the Ryze or the Tahm Kench. So 4 champions there, 3 teleports. I feel like Dhokla doesn't get to play the 1v1s anymore.
And that's what Camille wants, but like you said, tough to do that here. OpTic, I think, just trying something. They'll stop Baron pretty aggressively, but mithy again, back with a control ward handy, and OpTic away.
Yep, basically, I guess every time they start it up, they tax mithy 75 gold. That's about it, but we're looking at TSM just building and building on their advantage. We're pretty close to almost 10,000 up for them. They're about to press that 9,000 mark. And this has been a slow one for them, but it's been good in terms of the control for TSM.
Gotta get that ward though. Grig does find it. We'll be able to get it on Trundle. Then there as well with another auto in case he needed it. TSM, again, is doing this the easy way. Do have one ward still just left of the pit.
Oh, Hauntzer potentially looking for an ultimate here onto Arrow and PoE to start things off. There's one of the speed ups from Zilean.
Bjergsen also pressuring top lane as well, so TSM just covering. Don't need to rush from mid-prio just yet. Here comes Mithy.
Going top lane.
Yep, again trying to take down turrets. Dhokla is here. Once again, now in a 1v3.
Yeah, that's the rotation there. Speeding up PoE to try and get him in a little sooner. It's just damage control here.
Predator, Akaadian might be able to do something here. Does even get the Banshees, unfortunately for him, and Speedtrunk went to TSM, so now they're going to start Baron. Realm Warp over, TSM again, just running OpTic in circles across the rift.
Yep, Dhokla's backing to potentially TP in. They saw that, there's the ward right there.
That ward's rough. TSM couldn't quite sweep it.
Mithy
OpTic
caught.
might collapse. Mithy, we're going to go down. The Grey Hub does kick in, and Dhokla just evaporates as Bjergsen able to take him down. Power of Evil going to be the next one, but the Zilean ult will save him. Akaadian, though, needs to stay alive. Zven ready. Hauntzer flash forward, able to grab the kill. That's 2 from OpTic dead, and TSM back to Baron.
They just got completely annihilated. Dhokla comes in. It's magic crit for almost 800 by Bjergsen, and then that's pretty much the fight. They look like they had Mithy. The cleanse comes out. He gets to safety eventually with the locket behind him, and that's TSM using the gold lead that they had accrued, basically cashing in on the investments.
Not even rushing. Grig went back, and now they walk back to the objective. As we'll see this start again. Bjergsen roam warps over. This is a classic Bjergsen Ryze move.
Yeah, they see it in broad daylight, and then they run up PoE, throwing down the W. I can't believe Mithy actually makes it out of that. That last pulse looked like it was going to go off. He gets the gray health off, and Dhokla gets stopped before he can even E, and then second E to a wall. They were ready to stop him and make sure that he can't get that hook shot off.
And Baron did go over, as you can see. All 5 from TSM wearing the purple buff, and Grig back down to the Ocean Drake to make it full-on big monsters here for TSM. OpTic haven't got a single objective outside of that turret.
It has been incredibly rough for OpTic here, but TSM are showing that they've changed their ways of the mid-season for them.
Again, playing slower, playing more consistently, but when they have to force a play, they are willing to do something. And now Drake number 5 goes over to TSM. They'll grab Ocean number 2.
Yeah, that's the full house of Drakes. And hold on.
Dhokla again, looking for someone. Gonna ult onto Grig. Zven gonna be pushed out of the zone. Mithy, though, devours him out. Chain of Corruption gonna miss as well. There's the ult from GP as Zven just diving back in. 1Q almost took off Power of Evil's health bar.
I mean, they're getting pretty much 1-3-1 across the map, and they engaged on the 3-man, and they don't win it. They actually are running, and they have to recover. They're going to start losing turrets on the side here.
Yeah, and Bjergsen's Death Cap doing so much damage in the side lane. Inhibitor turret in top will fall. Hauntzer going to make short work of the bot side as well. Baron's so powerful when they're pushing all 3 lanes like this, as TSM will crash down mid-inhib. That's basically those 3 inhib turrets dead almost simultaneously.
Yep, split pushing against the team that has been using split push to get to this point in the standings. OpTic, they are just getting pulled apart, about to lose all 3 inhibitors at the same time.
It seems like there's no way out here for OpTic. They're going to have to fight. They'll look bot side, but again, stop down. TSM, look forward, look for Dhokla. He's Zilean ulted. But now Bjergsen's just going to roam over and try and finish up the kill. Akaadian low, Dhokla left for dead. He's going to be taken down by Hauntzer. Arrow, the next one forced to fight as Grig in a chase, and Trump forward for the kill. Big blown up by Bjergsen. Mithy forward on the Power of Evil, and TSM, they'll just get everything. They're going to try and get the ace, the turrets, and the Nexus all in one fell swoop. TSM keep them playoffs hopes alive.
A much needed victory for them, not just for morale, but for the standings, putting themselves one step closer to proving the doubters wrong and making playoffs again.
An avalanche seems like it rolled through OpTic space at the end there.
Yeah, the green wall is not standing right now.
No, not after that assault. The players will shake hands. 9 wins now for TSM. We're getting close to the magic number. We'll have 1 game left to play tomorrow, and no matter what happens, there's going to be a lot to look for in these results in our last 2 days.
TSM can, even if they lose their next matchup, if OpTic wins, that'd be a 9-9 tiebreaker, where they're both 1-1 now. So evening up that head-to-head is very important too for TSM, so they'd have the opportunity at a tiebreaker if they slip tomorrow.
And that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, with only, for the teams that are, of course, playing through today, with only 1 day left, almost everyone still can't rest. You have to play tomorrow. You likely have to win your game tomorrow when you play. And then you probably have to play some tiebreakers, given how things will break out. So a lot of work for these teams to do. Again, the number of remaining available playoff spots is very small. But to hear more about how they claim that victory, we're going to hand it off to OpTic and Bjergsen.
Thanks, guys. Bjergsen, congratulations on the win. It was an important one for TSM getting so close to playoffs, and I know there was a lot of hype kind of built up around the mid lane matchup against you and PoE, but I mean, the win would have been impactful for him, but what about for you?
One more time, can you repeat the question?
Just asking about the PoE kind of mid lane matchup. I know he was calling you out on Twitter.
Oh, I didn't even see that. So that might have been why I'm not I didn't really see his call out, and just the lane was pretty boring. We were just farming. He was playing Viktor. I was hoping maybe he would, well, if he's shit-talking me, hopefully he would play something that he can actually play aggressive and try to beat me, but instead he just played to farm, and the late game never came, so.
And you said before the cameras came to us, you said it was a bit of a boring game. What were you looking for?
It's a worrying game for us, obviously, because it's probably the most important game we played this entire season. But I'm glad we had a slow and controlled game. There weren't too many mistakes. I would have liked a little more fighting, especially for me. I was just pushing the side lanes the whole game. But I'm really happy with, especially how our ball lane and jungle played. Just destroying their ball lane, just hands down 2v2, destroying them, and Grig taking every dragon was super good.
Well, something that won't be boring. Talked to Doublelift after his win today about TSM playing against you guys tomorrow, and he said that you guys were just straight up boosted. So what's tomorrow's game going to look like?
Wow. I mean, it would really suck for him if he loses to us after calling us boosted, so I'm hoping that would happen. I'm not going to shit talk back. I'm just going to try to shut him up.
Perfect, and that's the way that you should handle it. Bjergsen, congratulations again on the win. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. TSM.
Everyone's trying to bait Bjergsen, man.
It's just everyone wants to get a rise out of him. He handles himself very well in those situations.
He does.
Look, I'm just going to try and shut him up tomorrow. That's all he's looking for. But TSM says, hey, OpTic, we're fine to play the long macro game. They pick up 5 dragons. They scale across all lanes, building CS advantages in the bot lane. It's a very low kill game, secure a Baron, and with that Baron easily pushed to a victory in this matchup that we, again, the stakes were there.
Yeah, there was so much going into this matchup. And when I actually predicted this game on This or That, I said this is the first big pressure game OpTic has played because no one expected them to make playoffs. And finally, it was win this game, you are most likely in. And I do feel a small part of them did crack under the pressure. And I actually thought TSM stepped up in a big way.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, too, came down to kind of how the draft worked. I thought, I was saying you should pick a strong 5v5, and that's what they did, as well as being able to put in a 1-3-1 part with the Ryze in the mid lane as well. And I think the game was super slow, and then they crushed laning phase, and then Nero on the alt stream lounge was just talking about how, if nothing happens this game, TSM's just going to win because their team fight is substantially better with how the comps interact. The Tahm Kench can save whoever Camille tries to go in on, and if there's no backline threat, the Ezreal will run wild in the fight.
They also have that 1-3-1 option, which we saw them use to great success. I was going to say, back to your point, though, Jat, the idea of comfortability in pressure games. I think a lot of that you got to attribute to the pedigree of the players. No question, there are some veterans on OpTic Gaming, in Arrow, in powerOfEvil, and, even Akaadian's got a little experience under his belt. But you're looking across the board at guys who have been in multiple North American or European LCS championships that have existed in the LCS for longer careers than most. And so no surprise that in this moment, those are the guys who step up to the pressure as opposed to the ones who maybe crumble just a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And what's also interesting about this is the implications even moving forward because the head-to-head is now 1-1.
That's very true.
We just saw Bjergsen talking in the interview about playing Doublelift tomorrow. They could, and OpTic also plays Hunter Thieves. So it's a tough matchup for them, but they could actually play again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So seeing what happened in this game is promising for TSM, but there's still more work to do.
Well, let's take a look because quoting an arrow, if this goes late and no one really does anything, TSM's just going to win. But I want to take a look at how we got to the gold lead that TSM ultimately developed. And I think a lot of fingers are going to be pointed towards that bot lane. The Ezreal Tahm Kench lane building a substantial CS and gold advantage across from the Zilean Varus.
Yeah, you see that CS number just keep ticking up. They took the turret by themselves around, I think it was 11 12 minutes. Yeah, just destroying in the laning phase. And the gold lead was monstrous as well. And it got to the point where Arrow was on an item and a half, and Zven was on 3 full completed items. And we're talking about needing to assassinate the back line and how difficult that is to do with the Tahm Kench there. And when your back line is that much further ahead than the enemy teams, it makes it so your engages are going to need to be super duper clean.
Yeah, I also do feel like the Zilean support works versus non-Ezreal AD carries. Because Varus will win, or Draven, which is what they picked up with last time, most straight up auto attack trades. And Zilean will then speed you up to be able to opt into those trades, and if they stand still and actually fight you, you get to double bomb them, right? That's the combo of the lane.
Right.
But that's just not how Ezreal Tahm Kench works. If you ever try and run up to them, either you're hitting the Tahm Kench, which means he's gonna have most of it absorbed by Grey Health, or Ezreal just shifts away and pegs you with skill shots as you're charging him. So I really do feel like even though normally Ezreal Tahm Kench isn't a winning lane, in this matchup, it should have been a winning lane, maybe just not to that extent.
Almost drafting themselves into a corner there when it comes to the way that the bot lane played out. I do want to talk about, the way that the mid game and the late game developed. Again, it wasn't the most exciting, kills traded left and right, but I do think that, again, we've got to look at the composure of a team like TSM as we near playoffs, as we look at more of those pressure matchups, as we look at elongated series, best of five. So if they do make it into playoffs, TSM finally coming into form. I mean, similar to how we talked about them in Spring Split, and then it fell apart in playoffs.
I mean, their early game still wasn't super active. They got the 2 early kills onto Akaadian, but then didn't do anything. And I think I shouldn't say didn't do anything, but they did what they should have done. I think it was Nero talking once again on the alt stream saying that they could have gone for a Rift Herald, chose not to. And while you might criticize that in a more important to speed the game up, but with the scaling advantage, TSM didn't feel the pressure to. And then once they had their leads, they actually do use their global resources pretty well, using Tahm Kench ultimates, Ryze ultimates, as well as having tons of TPs to force turrets down around the map.
Yeah, and even though most of it was a macro game, there was one defining moment in the game, like the Baron fight.
Let's take a look.
And this is actually where Dhokla kind of loses his poise a little bit, I think, because the Baron's not that low. TSM has the ward. A, you don't have to complete this teleport. B, when you do, you have a couple options. There is a stun-locked Tahm Kench, who I'm guessing Dhokla thought would die, but also when you teleport into this many people, it's probably best to use your invulnerability frame in your ultimate to get out of something. Dhokla instead opts to hookshot, and look what happened.
Yeah, he hook-shots, and with Ryze right there with point,
never gets off the wall.
Just instantly exploded, and they were forcing TSM into a bit of a dangerous position. You can see they take a lot of damage running into powerOfEvil, and if they were able to play that one a little slower, maybe does cancel the TP and just tries to collapse, maybe that can work. But that was all off the back of TSM, I think, kind of breaking down OpTic communication lines. It started with a Tahm Kench ult into the top side, everyone collapses up there, and then a Ryze teleport everyone back to the Baron. So they're pulling OpTic all across the map, and you can kind of feel like that might have been the catalyst for why they weren't as clean in that fight.
Yeah, we saw the GP and the Ryze hold strong against any possibility of a Camille split push, as was mentioned. While that was an uphill battle fight around the Baron, just missed execution meant they stood no chance ultimately at coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stats gave me a Foldy sheet update.
Okay.
My prediction of line 252 is still possible.
Alive.
Marks is dead.
Yep.
The worst case for TSM is that they get to play a tiebreaker for 6th place, with the best case being a tie for 3rd.
Okay.
So that win helps them a lot, since if they would have lost that, I believe they would have had 16 of the 256 possibilities to make it in the playoffs.
But as Mark said during Countdown today, there are still many, many paths for OpTic to make it into the playoffs. And so while they did lose this game, again, having that head-to-head coming into today's matchup against TSM definitely gives them opportunities. So again, the test is going to be their game against 100 Thieves tomorrow, and whether or not they can kind of recover and perform in even higher pressure matches now to come and ultimately make a push for playoffs. Now coming up, Golden Guardians and FlyQuest take their positions for Game 4, so don't go anywhere.